What's going on, everyone? So today's video is to talk about a topic that I was recently asked about in an email from a viewer, and it's an important one if you are in the market or if you're looking to buy a new RV, especially if it's going to be your first RV. So hang tight, I'll be right back. Alright guys, so this specific question was a very interesting question. It came from a viewer who said that they are looking at buying a new RV, and they've been to all these dealerships and all these lots, and the challenge that they've been dealing with is the pressure to buy one, especially the pressure they're putting on themselves, is getting worse and worse and worse the more dealerships they visit. They almost feel like they have this time clock that's counting down and they have to select an RV because they've convinced themselves that it's that important of a purchase. So what I want to talk to you all about now, especially if you're looking at getting into RVing and you're going to start the process of shopping for an RV, is that you have to be very, very careful that you don't prioritize RV shopping like you might prioritize other purchases, especially necessities. So for instance, when you go to buy a new car, oftentimes you're buying a new car because you need it or because it will be your new primary form of transportation. When you go to buy a new home, of course, it's what you're going to live in every single day. When you go to buy an RV, and this applies to about 75% of the folks who are buying RVs, it's purely for recreation. Yes, there are a lot of people who full-time in them. Yes, there are a lot of people who call an RV their primary residence. But for the most part, people who RV tend to do it recreationally. And that's going to make up about 75% of the people that are looking at getting into RVing. The problem you run into is when you're shopping for something, especially when you're putting effort towards it and you start shopping dealership after dealership after dealership, or you're spending a lot of time on the internet searching different makes and models, you're researching the forums, YouTube, as well as all the other resources that are available to people who are shopping for RVs, you get in this mindset that you have to start purchasing, that you have to start the process of finding one that you're gonna buy. You get in this mindset that you have to make a purchasing decision and you need to do it quickly because you've invested so much time in searching for that perfect RV, and you don't want to waste all that effort by not buying one. And you got to be careful when you put yourself in that mindset, because all of a sudden you take a purchase that's purely recreational, that's purely for vacations or for fun, that you might only use once a month, maybe once every 3 months, and you put it in a category where you now make it something you have to have versus something that you'd like to have. So one of the things that you always need to tell yourself when you're searching for an RV, if it's only going to be used recreationally, you only maybe plan on using it when you have time off every couple of months, it's going to be sitting in a driveway or in storage most of the time, you need to be sure not to move that purchase to the top of your priority list. Because by doing so, first of all, you create a really big selling advantage for a dealership. Because the more you prioritize it, the more you tell yourself, I need to make a decision because of the time I've put into this, the higher the chance that you're going to make a uninformed decision, especially when it comes to price. Or you'll come across a unit that you think is just too good of a deal to turn down, and you end up purchasing it, but you're not financially in a position to make that purchase, or you haven't really planned out how you're going to really pay for it. You just found a deal on maybe a model or a brand that might normally be more expensive at a really good price, and you jump on it simply because you feel that you need to make that decision because you've moved a optional item from the optional category to the mandatory category. So the whole point of this video is to really just help you take a step back, take a breath, really understand what the purpose of owning an RV is going to be for you and your family. Don't let one or two perceived trips make you believe that you need to make a purchase right away. And especially don't allow a dealership, don't allow maybe the amount of time and effort you've put into researching skew you into believing that you need to get something bigger or more expensive than what you realistically can afford. I know a lot of people try to justify RV purchases by saying, you know what, I could stay in a hotel, we could stay at a resort, it's going to cost us X number of dollars, but if we had an RV, think of all the money we'll save. The reality of it is, though, that you probably won't use an RV as much as you think you will. So that monthly payment that you make towards an RV is going to generally be much higher than the amount of hotel rooms or resorts you might stay at in that same period of time. Most people maybe take 1 or 2 vacations a year where they actually stay in a hotel versus the amount of money that they have to spend every month on an RV. And then finally, one thing to think about is financing. So a lot of times you're going to see some really, really great financing options when it comes to an RV, because an RV can be treated almost like a second mortgage. And you can see terms that get you all the way up to 10, 12, 15, even 20 years to finance an RV. And it brings that payment down to a really affordable number that almost anybody can get into. The problem you then deal with is, well, what happens 2 or 3 years later if you're not using your RV and you're trying to find a way to get out of it? You're trying to find a way to say, you know what, either we need to get a different model, or we just don't want it at all, or we need to upgrade or downgrade, or something happens that you need to change, and you have such a long-term loan on your RV that it's virtually impossible to get out of. That's the problem a lot of people deal with. You think that the depreciation on an RV is exceptionally high, which it really isn't. The thing you really need to think about is the fact that the depreciation on an RV is very similar to the depreciation on an automobile. The difference is you're not going to be able to know exactly who has the best deal on an RV when you're buying it. And what I mean by that is you could buy a Montana fifth wheel that one dealership is selling for $52,000, whereas another dealership is selling it for $65,000 off of an MSRP of $75,000. And because one person was able to purchase it from another dealership at such a lower price, their depreciation isn't going to feel as extreme as the depreciation somebody else gets on that exact same model, but because they paid so much more for it, they feel it more. And it makes them have the perception that the depreciation on an RV is exceptionally bad simply because their specific model that they purchased, they paid more for than somebody else who purchased that same model from another dealership at a lower price. So when shopping for an RV, you really need to be conscious of the fact that the price can vary so much from dealership to dealership, and your ability to finance a certain amount over a certain amount of time will really dictate what you owe on that specific unit when it comes time to either trade up or get out of it. Anyways, guys, I didn't want to make this an exceptionally long video, but I did want to talk to you about what I feel is an important thought process to wrap yourself around when you're shopping for an RV. Do not categorize an RV as a priority purchase if you're only using it recreationally. If you're only planning on using it once every couple of months, don't justify hotel rooms or resort stays as a means to buy an RV. If you want to get into RVing and you want to explore that lifestyle, or you just want to use it recreationally, you really need to be honest with yourself, with your spouse, with your family about how often you're really going to use it and what that actual cost would be when it comes time to use it. Let me give you one final example. Let's say that your payment on an RV is $250 a month. But let's say you only use it once every 4 months. That technically means the one time you use it, you're paying about $1,000 to use it that one time. Plus the cost of the RV resort that you stay at or the park that you stay at, plus the cost of anything that you need to put into that RV for that trip, as well as the accessories and the things that you need to start RVing. And I know that manufacturers always kind of push on shopping locally, but in my opinion, if I find a dealership that's going to give me a much better price, but I have to travel a little further to get there, I am aware at the end of the day that that price difference that I'm paying is going to be money that I don't have to make up for when it comes time to trade in my RV, and I'm going to be less upside down on it. That is something you do need to be very, very conscious of anytime you are looking at purchasing an RV. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.